All right, good morning, folks. My name's Frank Wilson. I'm currently employed at Aladdin Transportation Services in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I've been here since October of 2021. I'm the safety manager / safety director, whatever you want to call me. All right, what is Aladdin? Okay, Aladdin is an organization that is designed to help industry, truckers for lack of better words, new and old, accomplish their goals in the trucking industry. From factoring, to leasing, to finding a truck, to finding a trailer, to helping you find loads, to initial granting of your authority, to renewing your authority, to UCRs, to 2290s, to MCS 150s, and of course, safety and compliance services. I'm not here to sell you anything, all right? If you want somebody to tell you how to skirt rules and regulations, we're not the bunch for you. But if you want somebody to help you with your compliance, that's us, or that's me, that's my department. All right, prior to working for Aladdin, I retired from the Arizona Department of Public Safety. I was an Arizona State Trooper for more than 20 years. I received extremely specific federal regulations for commercial motor vehicle enforcement, as well as advanced accident reconstruction. Okay, I learned several things in my career as a state trooper in Arizona. A couple of the things are, commercial vehicles are big. Okay? When commercial vehicles are involved in collisions, a couple things happen. One, they're violent, all right? And two, there is a massive amount of civil liability on the trucking companies during those collisions. I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but what I've been told that of all the collisions involving commercial motor vehicles, approximately 33% of the time, the commercial motor vehicle is found at fault. When law enforcement investigates collisions, we do not assign fault or blame. What we do is we gather the evidence, we put it into a format that insurance companies understand, and we look for violations of federal statute, if we're dealing with a commercial vehicle and you're a commercial vehicle inspector, or state statute, and take the appropriate enforcement action. In these collisions, even though they're at fault only 33% of the time, approximately 68% of the time, the carrier, the insurance company, is going to pay out on these collisions. Why is that? Because motor carriers have big insurance policies. Also, even though not at fault determined by law enforcement, you start to get a lawyer involved, they start to look at your carrier files. Not the carrier files of the person involved, or the driver involved, or the vehicle involved. They can now look at your entire organization's compliance. They find one thing wrong, and we call it the onion, guys. It starts to open up. Hey, if you were wrong here, why aren't you wrong here? If you're wrong here, why aren't you wrong here? Let's take an example. If you have a trucking company that has, let's just say 10 trucks, all right? You have a seatbelt and a cell phone policy in place. Your drivers sign it. You're meeting the federal requirements. You're attempting, on paper, you can show that, hey, we're trying to get my drivers to be more safe. And let's say over a period of time, let's just use 12 months, the lawyer pulls up your guys' records. And he pulls up Frank's driver file, and he sees that, yep, there's my seatbelt policy, there's his cell phone policy or distracted driving policy, but the carrier has never taken action, self-initiated action, to coach this driver for a violation of, let's just say, a seatbelt and a cell phone. That just doesn't make sense. And when they talked to a jury about this, they said, hey, look, we've got 10 guys that drive a truck, a whole bunch, and they've never been caught not wearing their seatbelt. They've never been caught frickin' talking on their cell phone. You see where it starts to fall apart. So even though the carrier has tried to do the right thing, they're not actually accomplishing the mission, and that's taking self-initiated action to adjust drivers' unsafe driving. Okay? Now, I'm supposed to use this clicker. This is me. Okay, another thing I learned, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulation does change. It changes incredibly slowly. But when it does change, I got tired of sitting on the side of the road, placing drivers, owner-operators or company drivers out of service for violations of statute that they weren't even aware of. The feds don't care. That is not a defense, we didn't know any better, or it used to could be. We don't care, okay? The feds seem to think that carriers have nothing else better to do with their time than look at chapter and verse on usdot.gov. Okay? That is a fact. The feds will never tell you that. And no, I'm not speaking disparagingly of the feds, but I worked with them closely. I am not a fed. I was a state trooper, not a Fed. I am not a Fed now. I'm on the other side of the table. The reason why I think it is so important that I enjoy working at Aladdin and retired from Arizona is that I now get to help the little guy, right? Swift has 185 of me. Warner has 200 of me. Walmart has 200 of me in Bentonville. They've got 20 safety guys just like me with my training and experience. The little guy doesn't have the pocketbook to do that and doesn't have the time to do that, all right, and might not have access to it. That's what I can do for you, okay? Not saying that you guys are unsafe, but we can cover you as far as from a collision liability point of view. That's one of the things, okay? Also, I have learned, all right, the percentage of new entrant audits the feds want completed has changed. Back in the day, who knows that your actual, when you first get your DOT number, it's actually not permanently registered. You have to go 18 months before it gets permanently registered. Even if you don't get stopped, nothing, it still takes time. It used to could be, you could time out of the system, for lack of better words. 18 months, here you go, you're permanently registered. The feds have changed it to whereas they want carriers to go through that initial audit. The new entrant audit, guys, is done off-site. It's not on-site. It's nothing that the carrier has done wrong. There could be a bunch of violations or couldn't be. It doesn't matter. It's simply just a matter of you're a new entrant into the program. You do not have a vested or permanently registered number. We're going to come talk to you. It's just scratching the surface, guys. I don't care if you have one truck. I don't care if you have 25 trucks. It's all going to be the same thing. The new entrant audit is the same for everybody, whether it's done in Massachusetts or it's done in Phoenix or it's done in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It doesn't matter. It's done by a state-level enforcement officer, whether it be a trooper or a civilian, but it's under the authority of Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. We're looking at approximately 13 points of measure. If you do those points of measure, you're going to be good to go. Again, clacker. Okay. Okay. There's two reasons why the feds want to do new entrant audits. One, obviously, let's remove unsafe carriers from the roadway. That goes without saying. All right. The other is more of a teaching aspect of it. Unfortunately, the out of service and fines levied sometimes outweigh the teaching aspect of it. But the idea is if we catch carriers when they're young, we teach them and see what they're doing, push them in the right direction, give them the information that they need, because not everybody has access to all the information or all the time, all right? That as they grow, as they hire new drivers, as they succeed in the industry, they're going to maintain their compliance, all right? Obviously, during the new entrant audit, yes, we're looking at logbooks and we're looking for hours of service. We're making sure you're using your ELD, that your guys have an actual med card, your guys have a freaking driver's license that's actually valid, all right? But primarily what we're looking for is what I consider the big three things. These are acute violations that will get that could, everything's could, remember it's up to officer discretion what type of enforcement action we want to take, that could get your authority taken away. The first one is, before any driver can actually set foot in a vehicle involved in commerce on a public roadway for your company, they must have a pre-employment MVR done, all right? I don't care if the guy comes walking into your shop with a state-issued MVR from, let's just say, the state of Oklahoma, and you're in an Oklahoma company, just humor me here, all right? You're an Oklahoma company. I don't care. If it's from the 10th of March and you didn't hire the old boy till the 11th of March, guess what? It doesn't count. It's pre-employment, I understand that, but it wasn't done by you. When it's done by you, put that in the file. That's one of the parts of the files. The next thing you have to do is you have to have a pre-employment urinalysis. The results in your hand. I know chapter and verse says you got 30 days and you got all this other kind of stuff. I am telling you right now, Murphy's going to strike. An ounce of prevention's worth a pound of cure. It says pre-employment drug screen for a reason. Until you have results in your hand, it is not a drug test. The guy can tell you all day long, I'm not on drugs, he can go provide a sample, everything's good to go. But until you have those results in your hand, it's your name on the side of the truck. It's your DOT number, it's your money, for lack of better words. You best have those results in your hand before you allow him to operate in commerce for your company. The other thing you have to have is a full pre-employment clearinghouse check. Now, that makes pretty much sense. Okay, it's a new driver, hey, we're good to go, all right? Let's go back to somebody who's worked for the company prior to the clearinghouse mandate that we'll talk about in just a second, the date that the first phase came in. It doesn't say, hey, Frank has worked for this company since 1993. What it says is drivers shall have a pre-employment clearinghouse check in their driver qualification file. What that means is you're going to do, although it's silly, you're going to do a full pre-employment check on an existing employee. Okay, this is just all legal beagle stuff, not trying to be a lawyer here, all right? But we're just saying that this is how you can do it so you've covered all your bases. Nobody can possibly argue, well, Frank's worked for me since 1997. You know, that's absolutely correct. But we had him do a full pre-employment clearinghouse. Oh, okay, why'd you do that? All right, we'll touch on all that in a minute, just like I said, all right? Another thing I learned is, and that's this slide, COVID has taught the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration that I no longer have to knock on your door to get to do an audit of, not your facilities, I still have to go in person for that, okay? But I can make you send me all your maintenance records via the internet, I can make you send me all your drug testing records, I can make you send me all your driver qualification files, and I don't have to waste the time and effort of actually driving to your guys' shop, okay? I can do it via the computer. I can also ask and receive more information as we go, so I can start and stop. I can ask for your hours of service documentation. If it's an ELD, guess what? You're going to send it to me anyway. Okay? If it's just plain old logbooks or let's say timesheets because you follow with inside the exemption, it's the same thing, except now I don't have to go to your guys' shop. I can still do the same fines, I can still put you out of service, I can still make you do the same corrective action plans, I can do all the same stuff, but I don't have to physically waste my time driving to your guys' shop. Okay? COVID taught us that. All right? Another thing I want to talk about. Yes, you have your new intern audit. The dreaded safety review, safety audit, compliance review. I just want to talk to you. It goes under all kinds of different things, but let's call it what it is. It is a safety investigation. Why do safety investigations happen? All right? There's a multitude of reasons. All right? Probably the biggest reason why carriers are subject to, after your new intern audit, a safety investigation. Let's just call it that. All right? Probably going to be roadside inspections. If you have substandard roadside inspections that show out-of-service violations or a propensity, a going towards, hey, this carrier, why do we keep stopping these guys? They can't figure out how to secure their pipe. Why can't they do their loads correctly? Why can't they secure this right? Why are they constantly speeding? Why? We can go why all day, okay? Bad roadside inspections will get you a safety review by, again, a state-level official acting under the cloud of Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulation, okay? The other thing that's gonna happen is if your company is involved in at-fault collisions, that's gonna get you talked to, all right? If it's across state lines and there's violations that are notated on a DVR that were pre-collision, not post-collision, I think we can all understand here, guys, what's pre and post, all right? That might have been a contributing cause to this collision occurring, that's gonna get you talked to. Whether it's a state-level guy coming to talk to you or it's a Fed stationed in your state, that's gonna get an email, get a letter, get a phone call, we'll get in touch with you. Oh, and before I forget, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration will never, ever, ever, keep saying ever till you get tired, text. The feds do not believe that texts are an authorized mode of communication with industry. After the fact, you've made liaison with your auditor, and maybe it's just easier for everybody, he might text with you. But that initial, you're gonna get a safety audit, send me a bunch of money, is never done via text. Okay, there's my anti-text thing. All right. Another thing that has recently come up, clearinghouse activity. If we start to see activity in the clearinghouse, such as you have drivers that have had a bad P-test, or we start to see that drivers are changing states a whole bunch, or changing consortiums, all this other kind of stuff, it's just activity in the clearinghouse that we can see. That might lead to an audit. And of course, everybody's favorite that you guys don't want to hear, it just might be blue truck day. All right, you can just be very unlucky and you can just meet what this auditor needs to get for his numbers to look good for the year. They might come talk to you just simply for that reason alone. You know what? I've been inspecting big trucking companies, I've been inspecting small trucking companies, but I haven't inspected anybody with about 15 to 17 that's involved in interstate commerce Oh, and they haul hazmat. Let's go talk to them. Okay? So that could lend itself also. Okay? A safety review, no longer on site, via the internet, entails a complete look at every single thing as mandated by federal motor carrier safety regulation. All drivers, current drivers, vehicle maintenance records, manifests, bills of lading, whatever you want to call them. That's what a on-site internet safety review entails. Okay, now, I had already led up to it, the clearinghouse. The first phase of the clearinghouse was initiated January of 2021, or excuse me, January of 2020. There's 3 stages to drug and alcohol testing, guys. Okay, 1, where you go pee. As long as it's not on the side of the road, we really don't care. 2, who tells you to go pee? That's your consortium. A consortium's nothing more than that it has to be an outside entity that's responsible for making sure that you have enough of your drivers pee as per FMCSR. Drug, certain percentage per year they have to pull. Alcohol, certain percentage they have to pull. Okay? And then there's the 3rd stage of drug and alcohol testing, and that's what this rule talks about. It's the clearinghouse. It's where all those test results go. As of current, we're just putting in bad results. A hot pre-test, a positive frickin' regular employment test, a post-DOT reportable collision P-test, it doesn't matter. Okay? Then it goes through the steps, and I don't have enough time today to talk about absolutely everything. Then you go through your follow-up tests and your SAPs and blah, 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 all this other kind of stuff. Okay? The feds are working towards, like everything, they constantly are dinking with their computers, making them better, all right, is that it's going to start to put follow-up test results in there. That it's going to start to put, at some point in time, good tests to make sure that the testing requirements are being done. I've been told by some people that I know, they someday want to start putting motor vehicle information in there as well, so the MVR stuff. So it's what they want to do is they want, if you run a clearinghouse check, you've done everything that you need to do as far as checking the guy's driving abilities. Not the PSP and not the violations that are issued in an actual DVR, but everything else as far as his driving behavior, making sure he has a valid driver's license, making sure that he is not prohibited in the clearinghouse. Okay? The final rule, and yes, the state of Arizona is already starting to do this as well as several other states. We're going to begin roadside enforcement of clearinghouse registration. So no longer, it used to could take, and this is going to take effect no later than November of 2024. No later than. I can speak from my agency's point of view because I worked for them for a little while. We like federal money because we like new Tahoes. So what we'll do is the feds say no later than November of 24, we're going to talk to our computer nerds and we're going to have them start to get this stuff as fast as we can effective. When I say effective, this is what occurs. Everybody understands, here's kind of how a roadside inspection goes, not through a port of entry. Wasn't a port of entry guy, they kind of do the same stuff. No, I was actually driving around looking. My main goal wasn't to scale you or check if you have IFTA, which is important, okay? My main goal was to make sure that your hours weren't wrong and that you were actually authorized to drive and you weren't drinking or hauling drugs or transporting kids across state lines or something that you're not supposed to be doing, okay? So I was more proactive than that. When I run the DOT number, remember this is no later than November of 24, I run the DOT number, it's going to tell me if Frank's Freight is enrolled in the clearinghouse. That's all it's going to say. Frank's Freight's in the clearinghouse. Now I pull over Frank's Freight, and I talk to the shady driver, Frank. I make him get out. All right? I now run his driver's license. It's going to tell me if the driver is enrolled in the clearinghouse. Let's start to think about this. If the driver is enrolled in the clearinghouse, could a pre-employment check be done? And could the annual checks be done? Yes, because he's in the clearinghouse. If the driver's, or now the company's enrolled in the clearinghouse, same thing. Yes, he could have ran the check, but I don't know if he actually ran the check. The only information that currently I want to look at is if the guy's prohibited in the clearinghouse. Okay? Company can't be prohibited in the clearinghouse. Companies don't actually provide P samples. Drivers do. So if a driver's prohibited, that's a no-brainer. We're going to park the guy and we're going to park the guy until he's no longer prohibited. How's the guy no longer going to be prohibited in the clearinghouse? He's going to have to go through the whole SAP program. So guess what that means to industry? That means that load is sitting right there for a long daggum time. And guess what? You can also tell your drivers, can your driver drive home? No, he can't because he's still operating something with a GVWR over 26,000 pounds and he probably doesn't live in the state. Okay, so basically, he and the load are going to be sitting there for a long time. That hurts you guys, that hurts him. Enroll in the clearinghouse. Okay, another part of this mandate is they want state driver's license issuing agencies. I call it DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles, Motor Vehicle Division, whatever you guys want to call it, all right? They are going to be running, required by statute, clearinghouse checks. Make sure there's no open violations. Also, another phrase of this is if you get a speeding ticket in Oklahoma, maybe it could not show up in Iowa or show up in Oklahoma. Nope, nay. If you want that federal highway money, you're all going to talk to one another, and all 48 states are going to talk. So if a violation occurs here, when I check in South Dakota, or I'm not a cop, but I run his record before giving him a new driver's license, it's going to show, yes, he had a violation in Oklahoma. This is mandated before any time a new CDL is issued. This is mandated if you will renew it. This is mandated if you get a different endorsement. Anytime you change your driver's license, you're going to get a check of that clearinghouse. And the state agency is required by law to do it now. Okay? Let's open up to questions. Somebody's got to have something. Shoot.
So I'm a technician that's required to have a CDL as a part of my job.
Okay.
Am I going to be in the clearinghouse? I don't drive a truck on a daily basis.
Okay. You could if you wanted to, all right? But if you are not operating a vehicle that requires a CDL to operate it on any public roadway, you are not subject to the clearinghouse. Okay, DOT test, that's different. Clearinghouse, no. Okay. Anything else? That was good. Shoot.
You're saying that when someone's getting hired,
Yep.
the employer has to run the MVR. They cannot bring their own MVRs from the DMV, correct?
It's all about the dates. It's all about the date, okay? If you want to make Frank, hey, on the 10th he fills out his application, hey, Frank, we ain't paying for this. Go to DMV, wait in line for 3.5 hours. And they come back to you and it's a state one, you're good to go. Remember, an MVR to be an actual legal MVR, yes, it has to say valid and have all of his stuff on it, okay? But it has to have the medical stuff on there. Remember, you have to have that medical examiner certification number so you can run that through the National Registry to make sure the guy that's actually giving the test isn't just some guy at the Flying J restroom, okay, that it's an actual doctor that has gone through the federal stuff to get registered. You put those two things together, now you have an actual valid med card. Okay, somebody else had a question? I apologize, guys, I can't see. Shoot.
Why are the fines so high with so we had 5 drivers didn't run where when we were supposed to, and I get that.
Okay.
But we were fined $10,000 per driver.
Oh.
Why are the fines so high?
Well, in all actuality, it can be up to, and this isn't up to, remember, it's always the maximum. Okay, it can be $1,572 per day that the driver operated in commerce in violation. Okay, so what they do is they've made some determination, and this is done at a state level when you put in your mix-up grant. I'm not super well versed with this, but you tell the feds, this is how many audits we're going to do, this is what we're going to find. If we do find a violation, these are the fines that we propose to charge. What they'll do is they'll take your gross operating revenue, they'll take a certain percentage of that that's subject to fine, okay, and then it's another bracket, and then it'll go down to this type of fine, this number of points, it meets here. Okay, so there's no thinking involved and actually the fines, here's another thing that most people don't know. When I do an audit as a state trooper in Arizona, I'm not issuing you the fine. I'm not giving you the fine. AZDPS is not getting the money. Okay, I'm going to make a recommendation. It's going to get sent into my service center. From there, it's going to come back to you, and that's going to be the actual service. And that's the letter you get that says, hey, here's your proposed safety rating, or if that's the type of audit it is, or it's going to say, hey, here's your proposed fine amount. And then that'll talk about, hey, if you want to dispute this, you know that letter that you actually get that's UPS? Okay, that's got a tracking number? That's how it actually occurs. How they come up with the fine amounts for each individual circumstance, I can't tell you, other than that information which is accurate. hey, here's how much they make. This is the percentage that our state told the feds we're going to charge. Just use hillbilly math here because I'm not very smart. Let's say your company makes $100,000. We've told the feds that 10% of operating revenue is going to be subject to fines, so that'd be $10,000. And now, remember, it's a sliding scale for what type of violation you have, and it's going to go up and down, and then it's going to meet where those lines cross. That's what the fine's going to be. Yes. As well, it's a part. Remember, everything with the feds is like an algorithm. So they can have really smart statisticians figure out how to do this, okay? It's off of that and the type of violation that it is. Okay, it's a combination of the two things, and they have an algorithm that figures out what the charge is going to be for this. But the easy way to look at it, yeah, Swift is going to get a bigger fine for somebody not having a med card than Frank Shady Freight. Shoot.
Yeah, how often do you see fines for companies that have non-CDL drivers that they hire on CDL drivers that didn't get query ran in the clearinghouse, but they had a positive drug test at their last job, got hired on for non-CDL, and then the company gets audited and gets fined.
Okay, there's several questions to this. Okay, is the guy currently operating a CDL required vehicle? No. Okay, is the guy have a valid driver's license? Yes. And he's still operating a truck, but it just doesn't require a CMV.
No, it doesn't require a CDL, but he's still operating a CMV.
Okay, good. All right. And it's a previous employer where he popped positive, yes. Not with you guys.
But now you hire on a new driver. You hire that driver on.
Right.
He didn't ever go through a substance.
Right, he doesn't need to, because I think our vernacular is just a little bit different.
That's not true. I've read it in the regulations.
Okay.
Why you go through substance abuse program.
Yep. If he wants to operate, and this is where they're still arguing a little bit, if he even wants to have a driver's license, the feds are pushing for and that hasn't been absolutely for sure done yet. Okay, if he wants to have a driver's license, he has to fix his SAP. Okay, the states are arguing, hey, we're just taking away his CDL privileges. Because here's what the states are arguing. The states are arguing that law enforcement didn't pop him. He was popped in a required test, but it wasn't done roadside. You get what I'm saying? It's not like a DUI. Okay, it's a DOTP test failure. Okay, so that's the argument that they're having right now. But I will argue, and I think in Arizona he would win. All right, he is not operating a CDL. Okay, he has a valid driver's license. Take his driver's license away. He's operating a company truck. Okay, we hired him to be a mechanic, not a CDL driver. And you can also get around the problem with that. You're hiring him to do what? Be a mechanic. Okay, I think. Okay, so he's a CMV, so it's over 10,000 but under 26. Right. He is driving something over 10 across state lines or over 26. Over 10. Okay, inside your state or crossing state lines? Over state lines, that's where you're done because he's crossing state lines. You got to keep him inside your state. And that's where they're arguing. The states are saying, and my opinion, not a Fed, my opinion, this is going to go through because he wasn't issued the citation under law enforcement's authority. It's not a DUI. He popped positive on this. He still has a valid driver's license. That means he can operate a CMV as long as you have all the other stuff, the MVR, the med card, time records, all this other jazz. Okay, they are arguing that right now, all right? If you want to be absolutely 110% above board, you're going to have to listen to what's written in the regs, okay? But there's a bunch of quarter being given to that, okay, because it still hasn't been enacted. Okay, if you read before that, you still have time to get that to work. That was good. Shoot.
Do they have a projected date on when they plan to incorporate the NPR into the clearinghouse?
When the feds can do it. Okay, now I only have about 35 seconds, guys, all right? Here's one quick, real fast. I'm going to talk really fast. All right, make sure every month you guys are getting into login.gov, checking your portal, and checking your clearinghouse. If you're not showing activity every 30 days, remember, they have to be linked together, right? If that link is severed, when we start to look at your roadside, we're going to show that your company's not in the clearinghouse or your driver might not be in the clearinghouse and you'll get parked. So every 30 days, get in there. 29 days, not 31. Get in there, log into login.gov, open up a new tab, log into the clearinghouse, dink around, show some activity, get into your portal, mess around and show activity. The feds are telling me the best way to show activity is what they want you to be looking at is they want you to be looking at that inspection report in the lower right-hand corner and make sure that your drivers, your company drivers, aren't getting deavers and not telling you. Okay? Every 30 days. We all good? Oh, I have more slides. Oh, and this is our contact information. Okay? Although we're located in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, the feds have learned how to do everything via the internet, so have we. Okay? So again, all the states are pushing for it to be all the same across the board, so there's no confusion with industry. We can help you maintain your carrier files. Okay, we can help you with your IFTA, we can help you with your load, your factoring, we can help you find a truck, all that other stuff. Okay, guys? Okay, y'all have a safe day.